trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record, for the record, for the record.
And just like that, we are back on the Homeland Daily, man. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 71 of the Homeland Daily. Now, for those that are just tuning in for the first time, Liz is going to be back with us very soon. She had a very important matter that she had to attend. And also we have Rico Rolando. Rico Rolando is could not make it to the show tonight, but I'm pretty sure he is busy trying to sort out a lot of amazing things, man. Welcome to the Homeland Daily, episode 71. Great things to talk about today. Our guest was supposed to be a very big one, but I promise you he will be on next week. All right, next week, Tuesday, will be the time and the place that our guests will be with us. Now, we want you to comment anything that you want to say, anything you want to suggest to be a part of the show. Share the link. Don't forget to add us on all social media platform. Put us on Facebook by simply just liking that post, by smashing that like button, or you can subscribe on YouTube. Very easy to subscribe also, so go ahead and subscribe right now if you want to. And also, don't forget, you can also visit us on Spotify. Very easy to find us on Spotify. Just search the Homeland Daily and you will find us. All right. So Liz will be joining us very soon. No special guest today. Very unique show. Very, very, very unique show. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a story time. Actually, that's what I'm going to spend my time doing right now. I'm going to do like a quick story time to pass the time until Liz gets back on. All right, so here's my story time. This is something that we're doing that's new to the show. For those that don't know me, my name is Dane Cameron, by the way. Thank you for being a part of this. Don't forget to share the link. We got a great show planned for you guys today. A lot of topics that we're going to discuss. The first thing I want to jump on, and I kind of want to see some comments here as soon as we start this, as we wait on Liz to make her way in, is, of course, the first thing is I want to talk about the Global Residence Program the government is now currently running. And the reason I want to talk about that is because it's been a big deal. People have been talking about it. Real estate agents have been getting involved. They're asking some of the criteria for you to actually come on the island and to be a part of this program is you have to be someone that's able to work remotely. That's number one. So you have to be able to work remotely. That's how you can be a part of the global program. Also, you have to make a revenue of, if you're single, one person, over $100,000. Now, I do believe this is USD or KYD, but keep me honest in the chat group. If anybody's watching right now, just go ahead and put that in this chat and say, Dane, you're absolutely wrong. It's actually a little bit more than that, which makes it a little bit more puzzling to me. But it makes sense, though, because we want income to come into the island. So I'm not disregarding this program at all. I just want to know your opinion. Second one is, you have to, if you're a couple, you have to make over $150,000 US dollars. $150,000 US dollars. Now, what I want to ask, I think my question is, now this is for those that are just joining us for the first time, this is the global, now I call it, it's a different name, I call it the Global Resident Plan. So you can stay up to 2 years here in the Cayman. It's a big thing that our borders are closed, so they're trying to find ways to bring tourism here. So this was a unique program because I think the Bahamas or Barbados was doing this. I want to say the Barbados was the one that was doing this. And we just want to kind of copy the idea because we heard it worked fantastic in Barbados. And we're saying to ourselves, why not open it up here? Because we live in a beautiful country. We're 1 hour away from Miami, an hour and 30 minutes away from Tampa, or even less. And New York is a short flight, definitely shorter than going to Barbados. My question to the public today is, do you actually think that this will work? And I think this is a big question. I think a lot will laugh at this one, but they're saying that you have to make over 100,000 US and 150,000. Do you think that's enough for the individuals that are coming here to work remotely, or are they in for a rude awakening? Like when they get here, they realize, oh my God, this is really expensive. I don't know what I just got myself into. It's just going to be different. All right, so I want to get your opinion on this. I want to get your take. Like I said, the chat group is open, so you can go ahead and message us in there. I would love to hear from you. We'll keep you anonymous, so don't worry. We won't name out all your comments. We'll keep it as private as possible. But I definitely would like to hear from each and every single one of y'all, man. If you got any comments that you would like to add inside of this suggestions. Like I said, Rico was off today. He had to take some time off. So he's not going to be on the show, but Liz will be joining us very soon. And for those that are just joining us for the first time, we're talking about the Global Residence Plan, like the Global Resident Citizen Program. That's pretty much huge right now. It's a big deal. It's the biggest thing that's out in the press. And we just kind of want to gather your opinion on this and see how you feel in regards to this, man. My name is Dane Cameron. Welcome to the Homeland Daily, episode 71. Really excited to be here. I think some of the things that we can talk about besides that global residence new program that the government has launched is, what are you looking for in a candidate? What are you looking for in an MLA? How are you voting next year? There's been a lot of things that's been taking place. We're in a pandemic. It's a different year. A lot of people are left with definitely the tagline that's been used a lot: uncertain times. Uncertain times is the biggest thing that I think a lot of people had to get familiar with. But what my question to everyone is, I heard someone once told me in a meeting that I had that this is the one time that we have to get it right. When it comes to voting, we have to get it right. How are we voting? Because I've spoken to a few politicians, ones that are not in office right now, and I've asked them, hey, are you planning to run again? Are you planning to run the next campaign? Because it's about that time. They got to kind of get their message out there, right? And they kind of got to talk to people and just like kind of, make sure they're in this race. And one of the things that one of the politicians told me was that, ex-politician, was that he has no plans to join the race again. And the reason that he has no plans to join this race is because he feels like being in politics is one of those things like you're buying votes. Like, in order for you to survive, you have to buy things for individuals that are supporting you or are eventually going to elect you into office. And he doesn't think that's the right system. He doesn't think that's something that he should do. He doesn't think that he should go to every household and say, hey, what should I get you in order to secure a vote? In order for you to vote for me when the time comes next year, what do I need to give you? And, it hit me the wrong way at first, because I was saying that's not really true. But then when you do go out and have normal conversations with people, there's always that one individual that, or even more than that, that's always telling you, man, it's election time coming up next year. What can I ask for? What can I possibly ask for? And it's true. Like, a lot of people are asking for things. How can you benefit me? What is the benefits of me electing you? What do I get out of this? What do I get back in return? And that's a very big question, and that's something that I don't think a lot of us have taken into consideration or are taking the time to think about. And it is true. So exactly what changes do you want? What changes? I don't know what platform you're watching on, YouTube or Facebook, but what I would like you to do is just to literally place in the comments, what are you looking for this election? What's the changes? What are you looking at? The new individuals that are coming in? Are you depending on what we have now? On what we have now? Like, is our government up for the job? Is our government good enough? Is our government what we want to kind of see back in office again? Did they surpass your expectations this year, especially with dealing with the amount of things we had to deal with? We're still dealing with some heavy things, like tourism, for instance. Maybe some of y'all are in that phase right now where you're having withdrawals. Like, you're saying, hey, this is the time I used to go on family vacation. Christmas was coming up. I usually go and visit family. Family members used to come down. I'm missing crucial trips. This is a time I would like to explore. For those that love to travel and your passports have tons of stamps all over it, this is the time that you usually take the time to travel. What are you missing right now? Is the borders being closed really affecting you? Is that something that you would like to see handled differently? Or are you on, the mindset that the government is doing an extraordinary job? Like, we need to keep our borders closed. We need to keep it contained. It's the best thing for us to do right now. We're just going to have to wipe out 2 years of our life. Think about that for a second. We're just going to have to wipe out 2 years of our life. And a lot of people are saying that. Like, I'm pretty much one of those individuals. I'm saying to myself, like, okay, I love to travel. Yeah, I do have that little bit of fear before I jump into an aircraft. I've always been that way. I get a little bit nervous before I travel. But the one thing I'm thinking about lately is that, this is necessary. This is a must. Like, me staying here for 2 years with the borders being closed, that's okay. But, I can say that. I can say that for those that have a job, for those that are still getting paid, for those that are not feeling the financial burden right now, they can say that. You can make that comment. But let's think about the folks that have been in tourism their whole entire life. I mean, leaving high school, the only job they've ever known was a tourism field. Nobody has come in. They don't know what job is going to be there. The government haven't really, the checks have been delayed. I think anybody that worked in the tourism industry, as long as you were a resident or local, you were receiving up to $1,000 a month. And I heard that was a little bit delayed. So that's also one of the circumstances that we got to take into consideration. How are those people doing? Because that's a huge number. It's a huge number of people without jobs, with people that don't know how they're going to pay their mortgage. That's probably behind on their mortgage right now. We know that the banks are no longer saying, hey, we're going to extend this for 4 or 5 months. We're going to waive your loan payments. And do we expect a bank to do this? Because a bank at the end of the day is a business entity. So they have to survive. They have to find some form of way of surviving. So what happens? What takes place now? And I think that's one of the questions that we've been asking for a long time. Now, this is an interactive show. This is a live show. We also meant for this to also be a recording. So you can always comment. There's never a time that you can say, okay, well, I have all the answers I want to answer now. If you don't feel like you do, you can always revisit this podcast with myself, Rico, and Liz Charles. And you can just post on this and just let us know, hey, Dane, you're 100% correct. This is how I feel. This is how I feel about what our government is doing. This is how I feel about the tourism sector. This is how I feel about job loss. How I feel about like what we need more in this country. Whatever comments you have, we want you to go and spread that right now. If you're on Facebook, just simply go ahead and type it. You will be private. I will at some point read that comment out, and we'll start a little bit of an interaction. But at the same time, I want to keep you anonymous if you want to be anonymous. So make sure you put that in the comment, and we'll be sure not to post it up because it will show your name and everything. So we want to make sure we leave you anonymous if that's how it's supposed to be. If you're on YouTube, you can do the same thing. You can go ahead and post, and it will also show up on that post. All right. Some facts of the day, some things that I wanted to read out. When Liz gets back, I'll go ahead and read this out again too. But here's some facts of the day. We'll get back to that discussion that we had earlier, but I kind of want to leave you some food for thought just for those that are just joining us right now. What do you want from this next year's election? Who are you looking for? What do we want to see mostly in this country? Like I said, this has been a completely different year. 2020 has came as a surprise for a lot of us. I know there's a lot of people that have said, I absolutely love how the government has performed. I love everything they have done. I love how they stand firm for people first in this country. I love that we're living in a society where we're COVID free. It's almost sometimes it feels selfish because you're going on the beach, you're doing staycations, you're out for restaurants without masks, you're walking in supermarkets without masks. You now can actually walk in without a security guard, hounding you to spray your hands before you walk in, or go by names, by last names. Remember that? That was a little bit drastic when we had to show up to the supermarkets and we have to go by our last names. And then you look at the rest of the world and you see the numbers still spiking in places like the UK, Ireland, Spain, United States. Over 200 plus deaths in the United States right now. 7 million, I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, 7 million COVID cases around the world. And here we are. Numbers are coming out sometimes the most with travelers coming in. It's like two people that are spiking. And that's the next question I would like to ask individuals too. What do you think about the spikes? The spikes that you see with the people coming, do you think that that's being handled well also? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves. Is that being handled well? Because, there was a source that was telling me before that these devices that the individuals are wearing, like these I forgot what they're called, the chips that individuals are wearing when they get into the country, and it's mandatory that you have to wear this. They're not as accurate as we think they are. And, there are people that are breaking curfews, not curfews, but breaking regulations of staying indoors for 14 days, mandatory 14 days isolation. And you can't go out. And there are people that are doing this. There are people that go into supermarkets. They're going because they're getting bored. They're like, I didn't sign up for this. I know I was going to the Caribbean.
For it, though. Like, you actually did sign up for that.
You did. Like, you're the one that wrote the email for travel time. And you said, look, I know what the rules are. I'm coming to the island. And I know I'm going to be in isolation for 14 days. But, I don't want to put any wrong information out there. But what I was saying, Liz, before you joined us, I was saying that there was someone that was spreading like these, like it was a reliable source also. And we're saying, hey, this is not as reliable as you think it is. You need to continue to wear your mask. You need to continue to keep safe because it just takes that one person. It takes that one person.
Listen, I need them to not ruin this for me. Okay. Like, I will personally find that person and be like, you do not ruin this for me.
And I don't want to go back into a lockdown situation.
Right.
Like, I'm not, we've come too far. But Liz, what brought me to this topic was, I was saying sometimes it makes me feel a little bit selfish that I look at myself as selfish because I'm like, not even selfish, it's the wrong word to use. But I think it just makes me feel bad that, we're allowed to do all of these things, but then you turn on the TV and you see the thousands of people that are dying and the regulations that are still overseas and some of the countries that are going back into lockdown. Like Ireland went into a full lockdown until December. December is what I heard.
Yeah.
They went into a full lockdown. And I'm saying to myself, like, how much longer can we take this whole border situation? How much longer can we keep our borders closed?
That's really a consideration. I'm a part of all of these travel groups and stuff like that. And you'll hear people talking about, how they're bored and they want to do this and they want to do that. And you'll see some of the places where they had started to go to, like Indonesia, Bali is starting to reopen, but they're doing it similarly in the fact that like you have to follow some regulations, do some testing and quarantine and stuff like that. Jamaica, obviously, we knew about that, and other islands that have opened. But I just think that, no one else's numbers aside from like that of these examples I can think of went down to zero or approximately zero. I won't say zero because again we don't know for sure a number zero, but approximately, hypothetically. And I understand that it's hard for the economy, but how do we risk that?
Yeah. I don't know. It's rough. And because I feel really bad because I know that, when you know that there's people that, I don't know which one is worse. If you find out and you try to help, or if you don't know and you pretend like there's nothing that's going on here. Like, I know that there are people having a hard time. Like, I know there's people having a difficult time. Because I read a story recently in the Cayman Compass about the ARC, Act of Random Kindness. It's a nonprofit group here. They said that their letters have increased with the amount of people that have been sending in letters saying that they need help. And it takes a lot for an individual, especially here, for somebody to reach out and say, hey, I'm having a hard time. I'm having a difficult time. I can't pay my light bill. I can't pay my water bill. And you know what really hurts me the most? This is why I feel like this next year election is going to be important. I read this article by a real estate company, which I will not name, that puts out this advert that says, hey, perfect time if you own a $3 million house to sell it now because people are buying houses for $3 million. Like, they put that in the article. Like, that was there. And you know what? Props to you. You're trying to figure out how to make more money, increase your business revenue, and business must continue. But it hurts because I'm looking at even the real estate industry and I'm seeing, hey, there's one set of people that's surviving. There's one set of people that's forgot that there's a pandemic actually going on. And then here's the other side of the table where our real Cayman kind people are here, the middle class. Because let's just be honest, there's the poor and there's the middle class, but the middle class can't even survive in Cayman.
So
I'm just gonna be honest.
that one actually makes me less sad than the other one I saw for a different real estate company, because this
Oh,
one reeks of exploitation to me.
yeah.
So it was, is your house valued at 300,000 or less? If it is, people really want to buy homes in the $300,000 range right now, so you should sell your property. Here's why that
Wow.
is. Because if you think about most people who are homeowners, who are Caymanians, or people who are Cayman residents who've had homes for a while, right? They might have bought their homes for years ago in that price range. And they
Yeah.
might still be thinking, oh, my house is, that's how much I paid for my house. It's probably this much. But by the time a company or an individual goes and buys up, those houses, because those people are in need for cash right now because they're middle class people,
Yeah.
then those same places of property, we've been talking about what inflation is going to look like if we increase our population and that kind of thing. Those same places that they're going to sell for 300,000 are going to go back on the market for like a million.
Yeah, they
And
are.
that's like
100%.
the idea of exploiting someone now for property in Cayman, which is something that's so scarce to locals when people are strapped for cash, reeks of gentrification and reeks of exploitation to me.
And you know that because you just mentioned that, and I mean, I will be very honest. I think this is why this show was designed. I think when we first came together, we kind of all wanted to create a show for many reasons. Like, for those that have just tuned in for the first time in the Homeland Daily, we always have a slogan. This is the first thing I started off with when I first launched the show and I first came on, and I said, hey, we're always pushing the culture forward. And I'm not gonna ever take any heat or slack for that. Like, I really mean the culture, like our culture, Caymanian, like getting back to the heart of Cayman, the Caymanian people. I can only be concerned about my house, and I don't want to make that sound selfish. I am very home, like I love to welcome guests in. Like, in my place, I love to celebrate, but you have to know the art of leaving. You have to know the art of when it's time, your time is up, and you have to kind of go, And that's, I guess the analogy I'm trying to say is that, can we get a government that stands back up for its people, that realizes that, hey, it's really good to make money. It's really good. It feels really good. And it feels like something is happening. But then when you're really looking at it, you forgot about the heart of the matter, and that's the people, because there are people suffering. And you're saying, I want to get in office. Let's bring Cayman back where it was. I love watching all these unique videos and all these Facebook posts from all the people that are running for election next year. But then as soon as they get into office, you can never, never, never reach them. Never. It's the common thing. And I would like to say that, hey, it's because you're busy, because I expect you to be busy. But the things that you're working on, it seems like you're being distracted from what you originally spoke about. Because if I had to sit here tonight and name all the politicians that said, all of this is on the agenda, and as soon as they get into office, the agenda switched. Like, it is a complete different agenda. You never mentioned this at all when you spoke to us. Like, this was never one of the things that got you in office in the first place. And that's kind of disheartening, but it never stops me from voting, because I always, you know what it forces me to do, Liz? It forces me to educate myself on the individual, to ask more crucial questions. Like, I really cannot wait to have someone come on this platform and we speak to them, because they're going to feel like they're being drilled by us. And it's really
Doesn't mean it. Just come on the show. It'll be really
come
good.
on, it's going to be good. It's going to be like, it's going to be like going and getting ice cream on Sundays. It's
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Nothing to worry about. But we want to hear from our guests, man. We've never really had a show recently where we just kind of interact with our guests. So if there's somebody that's on, we see there's a few people that's on right now. If you want to go ahead and just like comment on our Facebook feed or the YouTube feed, wherever you're watching from, and just maybe put in a suggestion, maybe put in some points, maybe some things I left out. I don't want to be the only one talking on this mic, and I'm pretty sure Liz does not want to be the only one ranting, because we have a lot to talk about. But at the same time, we want to know how you feel about your country, man. We want to know how you feel about what the government is doing. Because on one hand, I am completely happy with how our government handled this pandemic issue.
Okay.
But on the other, I still see I still see.
I was like completely. That's such a big word. Continue.
Um, I mean, what?
That's fine for you to say
Let me
completely
ask.
pandemic. That's fine. I just, I didn't know if you
I
were
mean,
saying you
I
have
like
to.
how they handle. I mean, I think they did a great job. Like, I don't think I know we're COVID free. I mean,
Yeah,
taken from the words of your mom, are you sure we're COVID free? Like, but
we
but
are approximately COVID free.
yeah. According to the stats, we are COVID free. We would recommend that you continue to be safe, sanitize, wash your hands, and wear a mask if you feel the need to. But from reports and stats, we are COVID free. Do I like how the government has handled every bit of situation? Absolutely. I think our government has done an extraordinary job compared to the rest of the countries. Is there
I
more
think
they
that
could be doing?
we also need to understand certain things, like handling a population of X thousand is very different from handling a population of X 100,000,
I
of
agree.
X million, of
I agree.
millions. So our government did have, I would say, Dr. Lee didn't have a Dr. Fauci level task on his hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nevertheless, we still could have completely blundered this, right? Like we still could, our government could have, waited longer. Our government could have, not decided to do lockdown. The government could have not deployed all the resources that they did in terms of the police force when they first started the lockdown, and there were all the, police stops, check-ins. You got to make sure you have a reason to be on the road. If you're hanging out at the beach, you weren't supposed to be there when the lockdown first happened. That helicopter, police car,
Yeah.
that up. All of those things didn't have to get done. So people wouldn't have taken it seriously. And so in
Yeah.
that way, I think the government really showed up and acted in a responsible way, coordinating police with, the health department, etc. I think I'm going to be voting very differently this year than I did when I was younger.
You're gonna what?
I'm going to be voting very differently this year than
Yeah.
I did when I was younger.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think the
think
same thing for.
we all kind of grew up knowing certain politicians' names, and especially like, for me, like some of them I'll be like, oh, this one is my friend's dad, this one is XYZ, like, and it just feels kind of cordial. And I did youth parliament. And so when I did that, like I got to know some of the politicians and I felt like a kinship, like, okay, this one's a good person and this one is, all of that. But I think that we're at a point where it's no longer just, do I like this person? It really is going to become about what's your track record?
Yeah.
What are you proposing, and have you shown a track record of following through and having integrity or not? It doesn't matter if I like you.
No, I agree.
What have you done?
I agree. I love this question from Jared. Do you think Cayman can strive without expatriates? Like, expatriates, sorry. Great question. Great question. I love that. I think we had a Dr. Christopher Williams on the show before, and I love how detailed he was about our history. And when you, Liz, you can keep me honest, but I think one of the things that he mentioned in there was that this was really, our culture was really built on different nationalities. So it's so weird to say what is Caymanians, and this whole Cayman versus expats, because I really do believe we survive, we coexist with both. Like it's a must that we have expats here, but at the same time, it's a must that expats recognize how this country was built. So I feel like we can survive, and I hope I'm saying this right, we can survive alongside individuals that are willing to come here and learn the culture. Because I believe that, I've always said this, I really believe that the way that you prove yourself and of who you are and how you can push this culture forward is how you come into a country and present yourself. Because I have seen a lot of people that have come here and they have like a huge S on their chest. I can make this better. I can make this better. I can turn this around. This can be a money maker. Like, like they come in with these big grand ideas and we're looking at them. We're like, but do we need that to be better? Like, do we need that to perform in a different way? Because this is what makes Cayman Cayman. Like, we don't need to have high rises. We we don't need to have casinos. We don't need certain things here. We were built a certain way and we survived that way, and that's what makes us unique. And I think that's why a lot of tourism are attracted to this island, because it still has some form of history. It looks good. It's away from all the hustle and bustle. It's away from the casino. It's away from the high rises. They're here because they want to feel relaxed. They want to feel revived. They want to feel what real love and kindness looks like. And I think the moment we forget that, then we're in big issues. And we all have to find a way. That's the number one thing I want to say to government officials that are watching, for people that are voting. Elect someone that's going to find a way to make expats and Caymanians coexist. Not just say, hey, I'm going to push this area forward and I'm going to forget about this. I'm going to forget where I came from. Because enough of driving through neighborhoods and saying to myself, like, oh, so I can only own a house if I have over $500,000 to spend. That's the only way I can get a decent house in Cayman, if I have over 500,000. What? Are you serious? So I'm setting my kids up for, in the next 4 years, they're going to have $1 million in order to have a house. Think about that. Like, if you have kids right now, that's what's happening. That's what's going to take place. This is the best one. You're going to really like this one. Can your kids even have a house in the next 10 years? They might have to live in an apartment complex or a duplex. They might have to rent. So this is why I keep saying to people, you have to remember, election comes up every 4 years. So when I'm not being over dramatic when I say, hey, you have one more chance to get this right. You really do have one more, because who you put in office today will start the propellers and the progress in what's going to happen in the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that's going to change things around. And we kind of have to vote right. Vote for life.
Jane, I'm going to ask you, though, yes or no. Do you think the island can survive without expats, or can thrive without expats? Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes. And I'll tell you why. I'll say it to you. I'll tell you why. I saw the world can survive without people. Did you realize that for a second, Liz? Like, think about it. Like, and I know you might have a different opinion.
Okay, but Dane, not can nature of Cayman. That was cute. Society with humans in it, as we know it today, survive without expats. Yes or no?
Oh man, it's a deep one. I think that's why I started off with saying we have to find a way to coexist.
So if you say by sentence alone, your answer is no.
Say again?
Because you said we have to find a way to coexist.
Yeah.
Which means we must coexist, which means we need expats.
No, I think that was a Dane answer. I think that was like a typical me answer. Like, I want to coexist with people. I want to try to fix problems. But if you ask me, if I had to
coexist.
Yeah. So you're trying to force me to answer a question, and I love that, because you're forcing me to be real and honest. And regardless of what the consequences might come, absolutely, I do believe we can survive without expats. I really do believe we can. And people may look at me and be like, we're about to write some drastic comments to show you why not. And maybe there's going to be some things that gives me an aha moment, and I will be the first one to come back on the show on Monday and be like, I apologize, I wasn't really looking at it that way. And that's what these platforms are for.
If you give an opinion now, your opinion can change Monday. That, like, whatever. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, we are Caymanians. We are strong. Like, there's nothing that can come in our way that we cannot fix and we cannot resolve. So I will never say that Caymanians can't survive without a set of group of people that are coming. Yeah, we can strive. We can always try. We'll find a way. That's who we are. We always find a way. We're doing it right now. We're doing it right now. We've lost a lot of people, Liz. We've lost so many people. on this island. I think it was like the last time I checked the number, 6,000 people left the island during the pandemic. I think it was
Yeah.
over 6,000. Is that correct?
I thought it was more than that.
It's definitely gone up. These are very old stats, by the way, folks. So to keep me honest, if you guys know the exact stats, if you're fact checking right now, go ahead and post that in the comments. I would love to know what the exact numbers are. But we have done it before. I do believe I honestly, truly believe that we are a set of people that can figure things out. So yes, do I want it to get to that, like to that extreme? No, I don't want it to. I think expats are really good for this island, but at the same time, don't tell us we can't survive without you, because we can. We'll find a way. Period. End of story.
All
End of
right.
story. So, and that's just
So,
the way it is. What do you think?
I think no.
You think no?
I think no.
I
And I'm gonna
like
tell you
that. I like that you said no. Tell me why.
because I personally believe in diversity being, well, it's just a fact that like diversity breeds innovation. And so um, having different people, different thoughts, and different backgrounds, and all of those things that make the melting pot of the community will help you to grow. So, for example, companies themselves, you can get like, I think, 5 times more profit if your company has a certain standard of diversity and inclusion. So if that's what you can do on a corporate level, just by having a diverse workforce, right? Then I would think the same in terms of a macroeconomic way. Like if you have a diverse set of people in your workforce, then it should breed innovation and it should breed growth. Having said that, I would commend our education department because our country has always invested in educating locals and saying, okay, if we don't have a resource on island, we want to make sure that we find a way to get someone to get that resource and to learn that thing so that we're able to glean those things from other places that we might not have access to, so that we can still bring some of that diversity from elsewhere back into the country. I think there's a limit on how much of that we can do because it's a small country. So I just think it limits growth. And so for me, I think that we need expats. The way that we think about how many we need, how they are integrated into the society is a different conversation. Because you have to, that's beneficial.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that because it was leading into more more complex conversations, I think, in a sense of like, I think we mentioned this before. There was a Caribbean country that said that we will accept expats coming in and we will all find a way to coexist. But here's the deal. Top jobs are only given to our nationalities. Like anybody that's from here will only be, this is the jobs that you will receive. Like you will have all the top jobs. Do you feel that we're in a position to do that? Do you feel like, with you knowing all the Caymanians that you know, Liz, and you know a lot of young professionals, do you think that we can, that's a fair assessment to make, that we can say Caymanians can stand firm and have top jobs on this island without us bringing in someone to run that company?
Listen, from my friend group, personally, yes, but I'm always for hire the person who's the most qualified candidate. And if you're hiring from outside, make sure that you have training capacities for people to get to the level that they need to. Like you need both. And sometimes the most experienced person is going to be an expat. In my friend group, they're the most experienced person, and so they should definitely get the job. But like, there was a time when they weren't, right? Yeah. And they were trained, and they were trained by people, by locals, and they were trained by expats, and they took advantage of all of the opportunities that were given to them, and they showed up and they did the work, and they were given positions and more
Yeah.
responsibilities.
Oh man. All right. Well, this has been a really good conversation, and we want you to continue to comment. We want you to continue to be a part of the show. Just go ahead and comment in that box right there on Facebook or YouTube. Whatever you have on your mind, just make sure that you are positive and you keep it clean. Don't forget, this is a PG show. G, I would like to say, because kids are around. My kid is always around watching this show. He's my biggest fan, all of them. So make sure you keep it G whenever you're putting your comments in there. Okay. Just remember, kids are also looking at this show. It's not quite their bedtime yet, so we want to kind of keep that into consideration. Just want to do something that we've never done in the show before. Just create a segment where we can say something very kind about a local business that's striving here, especially what's going on with the economy. We're going to get into Patrick's comment very soon, but just before we get into that, I just want to say, like, this segment is to raise awareness to the restaurants that are doing a good job, that are Caymanian owned. Even if they're not, we want to raise awareness for them because we want to keep them in business, and we don't want what's happened to this business, who I'm about to shout out, to happen to the rest of the restaurants here on the island. And I just want to give a big shout out to the Lighthouse Restaurant. As you guys may have heard, last week, sad news came into the Cayman Compass, where, of course, Captain G and his wife, who has owned this establishment for years. The Lighthouse was first created in 1965. They didn't own it at the time, but this is a landmark here on this island. And he was an Italian man working in Italian restaurants overseas, came here with a dream of owning his own restaurant one day. And that's him right there with his beautiful wife. They also created a nonprofit foundation called The Pause, which saves little, I love to call them our pets, but they're really our brothers and sisters when they come to be a part of our family. That's how ours is treated here in the household, our dogs and our cats. And it makes me sad because they withstand a lot of situations, when there was the economic crisis, when there was Hurricane Ivan, they withstand those situations. They survived it. But hearing from Captain G, when he said, we couldn't do it this time. We couldn't continue to pay our staff. We couldn't continue to pay the work permits. We couldn't even continue to keep the lights on. And this is why the business was put up for sale. And of course, months later, it was shut down. You may say that we're COVID-free. A lot of people might say that this island is COVID-free. The business has a lot more, has different things to say, because they're indeed receiving the virus, because a lot of these businesses are thinking about shutting down. So we want to shout out the Lighthouse Restaurant and want to shout out all the people that supported the Lighthouse Restaurant, because I live in Frank Sound and I drove by the last 3 days that the restaurant was open, and it was overwhelming the amount of cars that were parked at the Lighthouse Restaurant. People were getting signed menus to keep at home, and they were getting the stories from Captain G on just how much he thinks about. And I actually spoke to him because I wanted him to be a part of the show. And he said if he did it now, he would be too emotional. He couldn't really physically do the interview. So he wants us to keep him in mind for November, where he will come on the show and discuss with us, just how much this business meant to him and his advice for other restaurant owners to keep their business alive. So with that said, in order to make sure no business suffers like this again, especially if they're local, I want to remind you that if you have the time this weekend, make sure you stop by and support my homie, my brother Luigi of the Cabana Restaurant. Go and see him. If you have a restaurant in mind too that you like us to shout out, that's been doing a really good job during this pandemic, please go ahead and send us a comment right now. We would love to hear about that restaurant, because we want to keep them alive here on this island, right? We want to keep them continuing past the pandemic, and we want this to be way back in our rear view mirrors. All right. Liz, do you want to read Patrick Lopez comment there? It's a long one.
So Patrick has asked, do you think amending the definition of marriage can be looked at as an attack on the Cayman culture? Culture is usually a mix of customs, arts, social institutions, and spirituality. Christianity is Cayman's spiritual basis. So do you think the redefinition of marriage can be seen as a foreign concept from the outside, undermining the core to Cayman's moral structure? No. And here's why. While we can say that Judeo-Christianity has been traditional religion in Cayman for generations, what is included within Judeo-Christianity has changed throughout time and throughout different places. So while you can say, okay, Cayman started with, Christianity as the basis, Christianity in different places can look very different. When I go to a church in Cayman, I am a Christian, okay? I like anointed, Holy Ghost, all of the things. Okay? When I go to a certain church, I might get looked at a certain way if they're a certain denomination of church because they want me to be dressed a certain way, they want to be, and all of those things can to them feel like an attack on Christianity itself. And so because you have something that is so widely defined, there's several denominations. Some allow for gay marriage, some do not. Catholicism, the Catholic Pope just came out the other day. They released a documentary that he's, for same-sex partnerships.
That was just huge.
Right. So if we're going back to Cayman being based on Judeo-Christian Christianity, I mean, was it actually like from a Protestant perspective or was it from a Catholic perspective? Because if it was from a Catholic perspective and you now have the Pope say that, I mean, so I think unless you go into, you just can't disregard the fact that the faith has evolved, or the way, I don't want to say faith, because that's not true. The truth hasn't changed, but the way that people interpret and the way that people practice has changed over time. And you just you can't say that. I think it's far too sweeping a comment to say that it's undermining Cayman culture because it's undermining Christianity. Because I don't know that it's undermining Christianity.
What Liz said, which I think was a brilliant answer, by the way. I don't know if I could have answered it that way, but Patrick, that was a really good question. I'm glad
that was an intense question, Patrick.
It was a very intense. I was like, oh, thank you, God, that was actually stated at the time that Liz came back on, because I don't know if I would have been able to fulfill Patrick's answer. I would have probably just said, hey, nice question, really nice question. I'll get back to you in the next show, okay? Here's the next one from Jared again. Why isn't the government enforcing the law against companies that deliberately fire Caymanians? Great question, Jared. I want to tell you this, though. I want to be very honest with you. I have supervised so many different employees, so many different characters, and there were expats and there were also Caymanians. And, I can never, ever point a finger and say, hey, we need to fire Caymanians because they're lazy, or we need to fire expats. To be honest with you, in both occasions, there were some that performed and there was ones that did not perform. That's just a circle of life. And are there companies that personally attack Caymanians because of what they've heard? Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you this. There was a quote that was said to me by someone. It was a very funny one. If you stick your ass out of the window, it's going to get slapped. It was quite funny because I didn't understand what he was saying, but he was saying, always protect yourself. Always protect yourself. And by doing that, I am so tired of explaining to people the simple things you can do to protect yourself. And that's simply documenting things. Performing regardless. But document everything. Listen, man, I could have had a conversation with Liz 5 minutes ago. I'm going to email her about the conversation. And the reason I'm saying this, because I have put my ass out that window a million times and realized I have no backup. I have no support. I know of people that have been mistreated in their company, in their corporation, and they have documented everything to the point that the company had no choice but to give them a promotion. Because it couldn't fire them. They couldn't get rid of them because these people were proactive. They taught on their toes, man. They got the job done. So my advice to that question is, I don't think that's I think in some ways, yes, I do think the government can step in, but don't wait for that. Don't wait for that. It's going to start with you. You're in control of your own vehicle. So in order for you to fix that, if my brother, you're going through that, or you know someone that is, hey, control your own vehicle. Document everything you do. Go into work, show up, do all the things that are right. Follow the policy, follow the rules, and make sure that they have nothing against you. That's the only way a company can fire you. All right? There are policies that's been placed for your rights also. So a company just can't get rid of you for no reason. All right. So think about that. What do you think about that question, Liz?
I mean, that was such a comprehensive answer, Dave. I don't know that I have anything to add.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love that question too, because I think that leads us to the point that we're almost getting ready to wrap up the show, but that leads us back to the point that we think that government is going to fix everything for us, and I'm sorry, folks, that simply is just not going to happen. A lot of the things is on you. It's going to be left up to you. You're going to learn how to manage your own responsibilities. But does government have a role to play in that? Absolutely. But that's why we're going to take it to the poll next year. That's why we're asking questions like this now, and we're getting questions like this answered. And if you have any more, please share it with us. But before we end the show, I was telling Rico there was a segment that I am ready for. We always like to end on a good note. I was talking to my kids and I said, hey, every night before you go to bed, I need to know something that you've learned for the first time. You didn't know about it before, and you learned it for the first time. You're going to go to bed 1% smarter every night. And they loved it. They loved it. We've been coming up with so many different things, Liz. We do it every night, and we're just having a ball with it. So I wanted to incorporate it on the Homeland Daily. So I'll end with this. Sometimes Liz will do it. Sometimes I will do it. Sometimes Rico would do it. Facts only. That's what it's called. We're going to even do our own intro and everything. Coffee can actually lower your risk of tooth decay. All right? That's your first fact. What do you think about that, Liz?
I would have never known that.
It's true. It's facts.
Coffee is dark and
Yeah.
would stain your teeth, or I think it does stain your teeth. So
Man.
So lessens tooth decay. That's crazy.
And you know what? It might be a precise coffee, but it only stated this when I was reading about it. If it takes, and this is just a fact, this is something that was done a research. So this is not done in Cayman. This is a research that was done in the States. If it takes less than 5 minutes to do it immediately. Your life will instantly become much more organized and productive. I even had a picture to go along with this, because a lot of times we get frustrated with our days, right? So we're like, hey, think about the things that are quick to get done. Be proactive. Like Liz recently mentioned to me that she puts everything in her calendar. That's how she remembers things, ways to get things done. Is there anything else that you would add, Liz, that keeps you productive? Because I think there's always people that's learning, that's trying to figure out ways on how to better manage their time.
Yeah, you just put my type A-ness on blast. Like when I type everything in my calendar, I'd be like, if you want to take me on a date, you have to make a calendar appointment.
Yes, it's true. It's true. I add things for my kids into my calendar. Everything for my kids. Hey, when they eat.
There's so much stuff that you forget that goes into things. And so when you start actually writing things down, when you start actually writing things out, then you reevaluate your estimates in mind about how long something will take and how much you can actually get done in a day. Because I think I like to write to-do lists. And you write a to-do list and you'll be like, okay, cool. I have my to-do list and I'm going to do all of these things tomorrow. And like each of those things may take an hour to do. Even if you have a 10-hour to-do list. Like you can't finish that all in one day because you need to take breaks. You need to walk your dog. You need to all the things. My tip, my productivity hack would be to try meditating. I mean, just the act of being mindful and the act of being present. I learned the word equanimity yesterday on the meditation app. And literally, it's just that kind of respect for the present, for what's happening in the moment. And so I think there's something to be said for that. I think a lot of people tend to think of meditating as sitting and being like, but like it doesn't have to always be that. Sometimes it can literally just be taking a moment and like observing yourself and just being present.
I love it. That's a really good one too. I actually tried that myself. Meditating does help. Start it before your day starts. It's the most important time to actually do it. But you can do it in the middle of the day, in the evening also.
Anytime you can do it. I do it right before I go to sleep and like when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah, there it is. So make sure that's just really good advice to take because it does work for those that want to try it. Last two I want to kind of mention in the facts only segment. 92% of these type of 92% of people always type things into Google to find out if they actually spelt a word correctly. 92% people, folks. This is what's happening to society today. Hey, did I spell that right? Let me type it into Google because Google is everything. It's a second god, according to the world. And last but definitely not least, I need your help on this one, Liz, because I know that there's two single individuals that are on this show. I'm not one. And I don't know if they're proud of it or not, but I can ask them this question because they've been in relationships before. And I want to see if you have to be married to go through these things or not. So I read a poll recently that says all married people fight over the same thing. I want to realize if it's also people that are not married too that are fighting over these things. You just date and you're just gonna fight. Money. Have you ever fight over money when you had a boyfriend?
I have never been that far into a relationship.
Ooh. So this is really just a married problem then.
Well, I think people don't talk about money before they're married, and they should.
True. Very true. So they wouldn't fight over that. Number 2, sex.
What about it?
Hey, they find a reason to fight over this. Maybe I'm not getting it enough. Maybe it's not happening. Maybe we're not spontaneous enough.
Fight about it. That's why unmarried couples go to couples therapy, right?
I know, but the reason I'm asking you is because when you were in a relationship, was this ever an argument? Or are you a good Christian girl? This has never happened.
I will decline to answer this question.
I kind of figured that was going to be it. I plead the fifth. Number 3, work. You work too much, Liz. This is why I can't date you. You work way too much. If you dated someone that said that about you, you're always working. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I've had people say that about me. I don't really care though if they say that about me. Like if you say that to me, like I'll probably think less of you. I'll be like, all right, you're not going to do enough with your life, so this isn't gonna work.
To the left. I won't ask this one because this is definitely a married problem. That's parenting. I wouldn't expect anybody that's not married.
Parenting, a married problem, co-parents. Yeah.
True, very true. Housework. That's definitely probably a married issue too. But if you are living together before you are married, yeah, I know that's one of those things. So that's it, man. That's facts only. Hopefully you enjoy that. I promise you will always get better. But that's our facts only segment. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Such a thing for me. I'm the kind of person who I like my things where I like my things.
Yeah.
It's like I need to live by myself.
So are you a clean freak?
I am not a clean freak because that sounds like neurotic, and I'm not neurotic. I just don't like nastiness.
Let me ask you a question then. Before you go to bed, do you make sure that your dishes are washed?
So I can let some dishes stay in the sink overnight. I can let some dishes stay in the sink overnight. But I think there's a very big difference between a sprinkling of dishes, like a plate and a cup and 2 cups. And I live by myself, so I don't have a lot of dishes, before it gets, versus if it's a pile of dishes and there's food in there, and that's a different level. Cooking a lot. If you keep cooking that night, when I cook, I clean up the same time because I don't want food. That's different. Yeah.
Well, hey, that answered it, man. That was actually a good answer. It's time right now. It's 8 p.m. That is officially our time. That's the Homeland Daily, episode 71. We want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget you can rewatch this. Tell a friend about it. Smash the subscribe button. Share us as much as possible. Don't forget we're the Homeland Daily, always pushing the culture forward. You can find us on Instagram by searching Homeland Daily, Spotify also, YouTube, and Facebook. DM us if you want to be a part of the show, especially if you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, or you just have a story that needs to get out. We need to hear something. Tell us your story. We'd love to have you on this platform. Until next time, y'all keep safe out there. And something new I would like to say, walk good. Walk good. Make sure your heart is clean. Love that. Love that. Keeping your heart clean. All right. That's it for us, man. We'll see you next week, same time.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me.